Scott, looking at the war in the West Asia, before this war started, there was no issue with the Strait of Hormuz. Right now, Iran is not backing down, it's controlling the Strait of Hormuz. The whole war, the conflict is on the Strait of Hormuz right now as we talk. Yemen is coming in. They're talking about Reuters report that Yemen wants a new mechanism with the bubble mandate. They want a toll system in the bubble mandate. That's going to be the new policy. You see how the war is changing itself, reshaping itself in the West Asia. It's complicating. It's not about Iranian nuclear program anymore. Just nobody's talking about Iranian nuclear program. That's amazing what's going on. And it's all about the Strait of Hormuz right now, bubble mandate, and the pressure they're putting on Saudi Arabia, which is so important for the oil market, as we know. The other point is, how is the United States prepared to bring everything into West Asia? Because that is what's going on right now. If they want to focus on the West Asia, they have to bring everything in just to fight all these little wars, big wars. And how is that going to help the United States?
You see, bring everything in. I mean, that's like me going to Las Vegas and saying, watch out, I'm going to bring everything in on this table. I'm going to bring it all in on this next bet. Then I reach in my wallet and pull out $3 because that's all I got. Bring everything in? What does the United States have? You know, there was a time when we could deploy 700,000 troops at a snap of a finger. We did that, Operation Desert Storm. There's another time when we could deploy 200,000 troops at a snap of the finger. We did that, Operation Iraqi Freedom. Actually, it was Iraqi Liberation, but then we realized that spelled oil and nobody wanted to go to war for oil, so we changed it to freedom. Today, nothing. This isn't Bewitched. You know, you don't get to rub your nose and magically forces appear. The reason why we could deploy 700,000 troops in 1990, 1991 is that we had spent the last 2 decades preparing for a major war in Europe, where through Reforge, or Return of Forces to Germany, we were ready to deploy 300,000 troops within 10 days. So we had troops on standby, trained, equipped, ready. We also had a large standing army, 250,000 in Germany with the equipment ready to go to war. So when the time came to divert them, we were able to pull forces out of Germany that were combat ready. We had the lift capacity to do so, and we brought them in, and then we could bring in other forces, marry them up with equipment, because we paid the money and we trained to do this. We were prepared to do this. By 2003, we didn't have that capacity anymore. We had a more limited, reduced capacity, but we're still able to generate 200,000 troops through reduced lift capacity. We're still operating in a benign environment. We landed in a Kuwait port where there's no enemy forces attacking us. We built up forces with no enemy capability to oppose us, landing on airfields without any intervention. Now we have zero capacity to deploy. It takes 5 months for a U.S. Army Heavy Brigade in Fort Carson, Colorado, to prepare for a peacetime deployment to Poland. 5 months to get their act together, to go through the training, to do the manpower things, to get people in, because it's a peacetime military. People are pregnant, people are on leave, people are in school. Your units are reduced down. You got to build them back up. You got to get them trained. You got to go to a national training center, because we don't have units that are permanently combat ready anymore. We don't. In order to get them ready, we have to send them to the NTC, National Training Center, and beef them up. And then we take them out and we deploy them to Poland for their little 6 or 9 month rotation. 5 months to do that. And that's just one brigade. Imagine if we were trying to send, I don't know, what did the Pentagon tell Trump it would take back in 2020 when they shot down the drone, and Trump said he's going to bomb Iran, and then the Pentagon said don't do it because we have to take the Strait of Hormuz, and it's going to take us about 800,000 to 1.2 million men to do that. We knew what it was back then, and we said we don't have it. It would take us easily 9 months to a year and a half to build up these forces by mobilizing reserves, by training them, and then how do we get them there? General Berger, the Commandant of the Marine Corps, recognized that we couldn't. He said, we're married to a legacy system of amphibious shipping where all the assets go into one ship. And as we approach, the area denial and the anti-shipping missiles capability of Iran sinks everything. There's a reason why our aircraft carriers are operating far away from Iranian shores, because if we get close, we get overwhelmed. And you try and bring in amphibious shipping to Chabahar to offload and project power inland to seize the Strait of Hormuz, which was the 1985 war plan that I was involved in, and it hasn't changed. How do you do that? You can't do it. So when you say the United States is going to bring everything in, we've got nothing to bring. We are literally an empty suit. The emperor is naked, a paper tiger, whatever analogy you want to do. There's not a damn thing we can do, Nima. Nothing. So we should stop pretending that there's something more the United States can do. We brought our air power to bear, and we paid the price. The infrastructure necessary to sustain long-term air combat has been devastated by Iranian counterstrikes. We've run out of long-range precision strike weapons. We're running out of of missile interceptor capability. There's no defense industrial magic out there. This isn't a computer game where you hit the cheat code and click the button and suddenly you build up capabilities. This is reality, and our defense industry is not capable of responding in a timely fashion. So we've blown the bolt. We got nothing left to replace it. And what, we're going to pretend here that Donald Trump's going to be building up resources for a third try? No, it's over. We lost. Game, set, match. And it's time for the United States to recognize this. And it's time for Saudi Arabia and the Gulf Arab nations to also recognize this. If you continue to align with the United States, only bad things are going to happen to you.
Scott, what do you make of Zelensky and Zelensky's attack on Iranian cargo vessel, which was supposed to, from Russia to Iran, which was attacked later on? We had the communication, the talk between Iranian foreign minister and Ukrainians, because Ukrainians called Iranians to talk to put the differences aside. But in my opinion, Zelensky is trying to do something. I don't know what is his main objective with these attacks.
First of all, the attack was an accident. Okay, it was a unfortunate consequence of Zelensky's 25 June declaration of a 40-day drone-based war of influence against Russia, expanding the scope and scale of Ukrainian attacks to bring pain to Russia. And so a decision was made to expand the attacks into the Caspian Sea. And so Ukrainian drones start flying over the Caspian Sea, and they see a ship, and they strike the ship. They didn't know it was an Iranian ship. They just hit it because that's the business they're in. Just random acts of violence is all the Ukrainian drone campaign is. So they hit the ship. When it turned out it was an Iranian ship, Zelensky, who was back at home having declared this 40-day war, but losing the war, losing everything, no air defense, no nothing, desperate, says, I can turn this into an advantage. So he now claims responsibility. The Iranians have supplied the Russians with drones, he said. What do you think we're going to do? It's a common cause. We want to make common cause with America. And so that's what he did. He hyped it up on his way to the United States. And he got to the White House and he tried to make that common cause. And the United States said, sit down, shut up. We're not playing that game. We're not expanding our conflict with Iran into Russia for your behalf. And Zelensky crawled away. And right after that, what happened? The Ukrainian Foreign Ministry issues a statement. It was an accident. We didn't mean to hit the ship. We apologize. We're paying reparations, because the reality is nobody's going to back up Ukraine if they want to go to war against Iran. According to the reports, Iran was preparing a long-range ballistic missile strike package operating out of Tabriz that was going to hit Ukraine quite hard. And Ukraine was going, who's going to come to our assistance? The answer is nobody's coming to your assistance. This is the tragic truth of the situation with Ukraine. The NATO summit in Ankara was a charade, a fake, a fraud. Nothing came out of it. Nothing. Promises for what? Licensed production of the Patriot? There will not be a single Patriot ever produced under license in Ukraine. Ukraine will cease to exist long before that. Promise of support from Europe. Europe has no capacity to support. If there's anybody who has a bigger empty suit militarily than the United States, it's Europe in totality. NATO. Zero, zilch, nada. So he's alone. This was an accident. There's nothing coming from this. It was an accident that Zelensky, part and parcel of his overall processes where they put hype and information over warfare over reality, turned out to have nothing. Nobody was supporting him. And they did the only thing they can do. Admit it was a mistake, apologize, pay reparations, and hope it goes away.
When you see Russia is implementing a new blockade on Odessa, which is so crushing for their economy, import and export in Ukraine. On the other hand, you see Wall Street Journal coming out and saying Ukraine is the winner, and that's why Donald Trump is changing his mind. And yesterday he posted his photo with Zelensky saying that this is a good guy. This is, What is happening in the mind? What sort of information is he receiving, in your opinion, from maybe from the MI6, CIA, or whoever is providing him with these intelligence? It feels that
Trump
Donald
or
Trump.
Zelensky?
I'm talking about Donald Trump, because it seems that you see some sort of change in his attitude towards Zelensky.
Do you
Somehow,
think that Donald
Zelensky
Trump gets intelligence from his intelligence service? That implies a rational actor who is a prisoner of the establishment, the way it's supposed to operate. Wait for your morning briefing, consider it with your cabinet, and then come up with a solution. Donald Trump wakes up in the morning, passes gas in the toilet, and puts out a social media post. That's how policy is made in America today. Donald Trump is more influenced by Laura Loomer receiving $2 million from a Ukrainian oligarch to fly to Kiev to do a prepackaged propaganda thing to influence Donald Trump. He's influenced by that. This isn't an MI6 plot or a CIA plot. This is, again, the emotional irrationality of a deranged American president. What does he think? I don't know if he even thinks. He responds, he acts, but there's no thought process here. What we do know is that there is a major information warfare effort underway, promoted by the CIA and MI6, that where Laura Loomer and everybody, Gilbert Doctorow factors into this. And the job is to create the condition inside Russia so that the public doubts the capacity of the Russian leadership to prevail in this conflict. This is what the 40-day expanded drone war was all about, to take the war to the Russian people, to bring pain to the Russian people, and then get the Russian people to question the leadership of Vladimir Putin. What for? September 20th. That's the target date. That's the State Duma elections. The goal is to sweep united Russia from power and pull down the foundation of political support for Vladimir Putin and cause him to be overthrown by an enraged public who believes him to be a weak leader. That's what this is all about. That's everything that's going on. It's a giant gamble to achieve that result. Well, first of all, the people who came up with that plan know nothing about Russia, know nothing about Russian election. I mean, how do you undermine a president that is operating at, 76% support rate today? A Western politician would kill for this. And by the time the election comes around, trust me, that number is going to go above 80. Because, what did Putin do yesterday? He met with the State Duma, the target of this entire propaganda exercise. He put a medal on a Russian hero's chest. And that Russian hero leaned into him and said, Mr. President, you have to be bolder. Be bolder. So the president goes up in front of the Duma and says, I just put a medal on this guy's chest, and he told me he wants me to be bolder. What do you say? Did you see that video? Yes, they said. Not yes, maybe. Yes, vehemently. Yes, be bolder. And the president starts smiling and laughing and twirling. You want me to be bolder? Yes, we want you to be bolder. He just owned them. It's over. The campaign is over. Now what's happening? You talked about the closure of the Black Sea. You know how stupid Zelensky and his Western supporters are? See, Russia is a nation that believes in the rule of law. I know people are out there saying they don't, but they do. And you know they do. I know they do. One of the things Russia had agreed to was keeping a corridor open, a Black Sea corridor, so shipping could come out of Odessa and other Black Sea ports with grain, and that could come down through the Bosphorus and get to market. And Russia honored this commitment, regardless of all the things that Ukraine did to provoke Russia. Ukraine attacking Novosibirsk and attacking Russian shipping, claiming they own the Black Sea. They've driven Russia from the Black Sea, they said. Now they've gone a bridge. They start attacking the Sea of Azov, and then they start attacking Wildberry, online retailing warehouses. So Russia shut down the Black Sea. Who owns the Black Sea today? Russia. Only Russia. Ukraine will never again gain access to the Black Sea. It's been denied to them forever. First of all, by the de facto blockade put in by Russia, and the fact that Vladimir Putin has now openly articulated that Odessa is a Russian city, and he's talked about the partitioning of Ukraine to include transferring parts that belong to Romania pre-war back to Romania. That implies that Russia will have a land bridge between its current positions and Transnistria, which means that the Black Sea coast will belong to Russia. This is the future of Ukraine. And it's going to happen because Ukraine is being collapsed from within. We saw the thing that everybody was hoping would happen in Russia, fire Gilbert Doctorow, fire the general staff, fire your defense minister. Why? They're winning. Why would you fire them when they're winning? Oh, because you're an agent of influence. You're a disruptor force of British intelligence. Okay, I get it, Gilbert. But fire them. Why? But nobody talks about the fact that Fedorov had to be fired. And Syrskyi was fired. The very thing you wanted to happen in Russia happened in Ukraine. Thousands of people in the street demanding action. That's the instability. And it's only going to get worse because now Russia, because of the Wildberry attacks, is taking out the totality of the civil support infrastructure of Ukraine. Gas stations are disappearing. Not just gas distribution centers, gas stations are disappearing. All the supermarkets are disappearing. All the warehouses are disappearing. There's going to be nothing left by the time Russia finishes that campaign. And when you roll into winter, if Ukraine lasts that long, they'll have no gas, no energy, no heat, no food, no supplies, no nothing. They will all die. It's the death of a nation. And this is the direction we're heading. And no magic is going to come from the Russian Duma elections on September 20th. Those elections will come and go. Putin will be in power stronger than ever. And Zelensky will be holding an empty bag. And nothing Donald Trump says, nothing Europe says will fill that bag up. And that bag is all the Ukrainian people have coming into the winter. And what this is going to lead to is absolute societal collapse. And that means the end of Ukraine.
Do you feel with this new resolution that was passed, it basically Lindsey Graham prepared this resolution about sanctioning
Well, it has
Russia?
to be good then. If Lindsey Graham did it, it has to be good because the man's a genius.
But it means that the United States, Washington is preparing itself for the continuous war with Russia and Iran. I think that's the message.
Doesn't mean that at all. It doesn't mean that at all. You say it means that, but to prepare for a long-term war, you actually have to do preparation. They're getting ready to get involved in an energy war with the world because this package requires them to impose sanctions on anybody that buys Russian energy at a time when there is no energy in the world. How stupid can you be? Donald Trump engineered the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, engineered the closure of the Bab el-Mandeb Straits. 25% of global energy supplies is denied to the world. And now Donald Trump's going to tell the world, you can't buy Russian oil. You can't buy Iranian oil. Do you know how stupid they are? What are they going to do? Rely upon the massive U.S. energy stockpile? We don't have any energy. We've sold it down. We got nothing. It's empty. 15 days, I think, is what we got. It's over. This is the dumbest thing in the world. It is a nation committing suicide because politicians don't have the courage to confront reality. This will not succeed. It may pass, but it will fail. And the moment it starts to fail, Trump will exercise the opt-out clause and say, I don't want to do this. I'm not going to impose this because he's going to lose India. He's going to lose China. He's going to lose everybody. He's already lost them, but it's going to become confirmed. And the reality is he can't open up the Strait of Hormuz. He can't open up the Bab el-Mandeb Straits. So it's game, set, match. Please, Congress, please, 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 please pass this. Pass it. Because it will hasten the defeat of this irresponsible hegemon called the United States. And it will expose the absolute insanity of the United States Congress to the American people. And maybe in the midterm elections, we will wipe the slate clean. That's all we can hope for.
Do you think that Donald Trump would hand it over to the next president of the United States? Or he's going to have some sort of end to one of these two fronts, or maybe two of them? There are two fronts right now with Russia and with Iran. My question is,
it doesn't matter what Donald Trump wants. That's what I'm trying to say. It only matters what Russia wants and what Iran wants. So let's stop talking about Donald Trump. He has no cards to play. This isn't an American game anymore. All right? So the question is, what does Russia want? And the question, what does Iran want? And you have to answer those questions. What America wants is irrelevant because America is not a rational actor. So what an irrational actor wants shouldn't matter, should it? Plus, America doesn't have any cards to play anymore. We don't. Do you really think this sanction bill is going to do anything? It's just going to hasten the destruction of the United States. Oh my God, in order to do something like this, you have to be in control of the world. You have to control everything to make this happen. We control nothing. We control absolutely nothing. All Iran has to do is squeeze harder on Bab el-Mandeb and Hormuz, and the United States collapses. Europe collapses. The whole charade collapses. To make sanctions work, the rules-based international order has to be up and running and fully functional. But it's been exposed by Mark Carney at Davos as a fraud. Everybody knows it's a fraud. There's nothing here. You can't enforce a rule unless you got a sheriff to enforce the rule, and the sheriff is fat, orange-faced, and unstable, and has no guns and has no ammunition for the guns. I mean, we have to stop pretending the United States has relevance in the world today. We don't. We're just a declining power. And if we continue to do this stupidity, what we're going to see is the declining is going to become a collapse. And as an American, I don't want this to happen. I mean, everything I have here could be lost. My daughter just had a baby. The world they're going to live in could be, chaos. Nobody wants this. But in order to prevent it, we have to start being realistic. We have to stop pretending that Donald Trump matters in the world. He doesn't matter. He's made himself irrelevant. And he's exposed his weaknesses. The Russians and the Iranians know the weaknesses of the United States. Fortunately, both nations understand that chaos is not a solution. Russia has long said that predictability is what they need most when it comes to foreign policy. So the way you prevent unpredictability is to keep the United States from collapsing. So you may see Russia managing problems to keep America from collapsing. You may see Iran doing things to keep America from collapsing, but none of them are going to do things to make America ascendant again. It's over for the empire. So stop asking what Donald Trump is going to do, what America is going to do. There's nothing they can do. The sanctions package is empty. There's just nothing going to happen here. Because if we threaten to sanction India, they've already told us to pound sand. We threatened to sanction China, they told us to pound sand. Sanction Iran, war. Sanction Russia, what? None of it matters. All it's going to do is hasten the collapse of the petrodollar, hasten the collapse of American control on global financial systems. It used to be said it was too hard to replace SWIFT. It's too hard, too inconvenient. SWIFT's become unlivable because of the United States. Replace it, it has to be replaced. It's no longer inconvenient. It's a necessity to replace it. Replace the petrodollar, you have to, because the United States has not shown itself to be a rational actor on global financial scenes. We literally are writing a script that leads to the total collapse and demise of everything we hoped we could be.
Lavrov today said that there is no United States in BRICS. There is no Brussels in BRICS. So everybody's the same in the same. We are equals. We're talking to each other. We are putting our differences aside, and we are communicating. This is the system that they're making, a system that works for all with all their differences. And do you think, Scott, with the war of attrition that is happening between Russia and the United States, between Iran and the United States, are they going to continue with this war of attrition? Or if the United States decides to escalate, are they going to escalate? Are they going to continue with the same? Because Russia has proven something so important during the war in Ukraine. They don't get excited with the war. They're continuing with this with a strategy, with a consistent strategy. Are we expecting the same on the part of Iranians? How do you understand that?
Well, I mean, both Russia and Iran are rational actors, but they both need to achieve outcomes that are best for their respective nations. Russia has defined the ideal outcome in terms of solving the root causes of the conflict in Ukraine. That's the goals, that's the objective. Russia has not expanded this into, while the United States and NATO are down, we're going to resolve Baltic security, we're going to resolve Arctic security, we're going to deal with NATO, we're going to deal with the United States. No, they say that comes later, but first we have to solve the Ukrainian problem. We have to get rid of this Ukrainian cancer. And so that sort of limits what Russia at this point in time is willing to do. That's why Russia is not seeking to expand the conflict into Europe, even though they have every justification to do so. Iran, on the other hand, they recognize, I mean, again, it's similar. They want to address the root cause of the problem, but the root cause is the United States. They need the United States out of the Middle East. And so the RIGC has said as much. And so I don't see Iran seeking to limit this conflict. I see Iran seeking to exploit all of the advantages it currently possesses to drive America out of the Middle East. And this is a sad state of affairs because that means that we will be defeated. And remember, war is an extension of politics by other means, and politics is designed by economic realities. So this becomes an economic war. And so I believe that Iran will not only continue to fire missiles when it needs to, but it will continue to squeeze hard in the Strait of Hormuz and Bab el-Mandeb, because there's only a finite amount of pain the United States could take before it's compelled to either totally fail or make the changes necessary to make the pain end. Thomas Schelling wrote, game theory back in the 1960s and talked about the power to project pain. Iran almost exclusively possesses that power today when it comes to the Middle East, and that brings about not just deterrence value, but it also brings about the ability to shape events in your favor, because they can bring the pain and other sides can't match the pain, and so there's an imbalance of pain making, and the game is going to be won by Iran. It's going to be a different game than the one Russia's playing. Russia's game is actually inherently containable, but because the United States has made this an existential issue for Iran, Iran will have a different outcomes, and the outcome is the United States must be evicted meaningfully from the Middle East. There can be no more American military power hovering off the shores of Iran. There can be no more Gulf Arab states serving as a forward base for American military power projection into Iran. The United States must be totally removed from the Middle East region. And the Gulf Arab states must be totally compliant to the needs, wants, and desires of Iran. Fortunately for them, what Iran wants is peace and prosperity. They just want the area to be safe. They want to be able to sell their oil. They want to be able to market their goods. They want to be able to live in peace. That can never happen if the United States is in the Middle East.